When you think about the Bible, it can feel like this massive, kind of complicated library of books, right? You've got laws, poetry, ancient history, and it doesn't always feel like it connects. But what if there's a single story, one big plot that ties the whole thing together? A storyline that once you see it, completely changes how you read everything from Genesis to Revelation.
And that's really the big question we're digging into here. What if the central drama of the entire Bible isn't just about saving individual souls, but it's about something way, way bigger, a cosmic story that's been hiding right there in front of us this whole time? Okay, so here's the core idea in a nutshell. The entire biblical narrative is about God building a single, unified household, a family that's made up of beings from two totally different realms, a heavenly, spiritual family and an earthly, human family, all of them living together under one roof, so to speak. Now, to really get our heads around this, we have to kind of step back in time. We need to understand the ancient world that the Bible was born into, because that world was absolutely swimming with ideas about gods and their households, and seeing that context is the key to unlocking what makes the Bible's claims so unique. So what's fascinating is how the Bible takes the ideas of its day and just flips them on their head. All the surrounding cultures, they saw these big pantheons of squabbling gods with humans created basically to be their slaves. But the Bible takes that familiar household idea and makes this radical claim. Nope, there's only one uncreated God. His heavenly host isn't a bunch of rivals. They're created beings who serve him. And humanity? Get this, they aren't slaves, they're his image bearers, his representatives, made to partner with him. And this whole idea of a heavenly family isn't some hidden secret. It's all over the Old Testament. When God says, "Let us make man," who's the us? Well, it's understood he's speaking to his heavenly court. The book of Job talks about sons of God who were there watching creation happen. The Psalms mention a divine council. So the Bible for sure affirms a populated heaven. But, and this is the crucial part, it's a realm that is entirely created by and answers to its one single incomparable king. All right, so if the original plan was one big, unified cosmic household, what on earth went wrong? Well, the central conflict of the whole story is a rebellion, a mutiny that tears God's family apart, both up in heaven and down here on earth. And it wasn't just one bad day, one mistake. It was more like a series of cascading rebellions that fractured the household in both realms. First, you have a spiritual being in the garden who tempts the new human family. Then, a little later in Genesis, you have some of these heavenly beings who violate their boundaries, and that just unleashes even more chaos on earth. And finally, you get to Babel, where all of humanity gets together in one big project of defiance. The family is just broken, top to bottom.
The result of all this is a state the Bible calls exile. But we've got to understand this is so much more than just a punishment. It's a deep, painful household rupture. It's the tragedy of kids being kicked out of their home, cut off from the life-giving presence of their father.
But here's the amazing part. The story's far from over. In fact, God doesn't waste a second. He immediately launches this incredible, long-term, strategic plan to put his broken family back together again. This whole reconstruction project kicks off with a promise to just one man, Abraham. But listen to the scope of this promise. It's not just about his own descendants. The goal, right from the very beginning, is that through him, all the families of the earth will be blessed. The plan was always about reclaiming and reuniting the whole world.
So Israel's job was to become this covenant household. You can think of them as a kind of beachhead in God's cosmic reclamation project. They were supposed to be this model of what restored family life looked like, a people where God's presence lived, and through them, he would eventually draw all the other estranged nations back home. And this, of course, brings us to the climax of the whole story, the arrival of a hero, the Messiah, who is going to perform the one decisive act that can finally and fully restore God's divided household.
And when you look at Jesus' work, it is all framed in these family terms. He is the perfect son, the one who succeeds where Adam and the nation of Israel both failed. It's through his life, death, and resurrection that he makes it possible for anyone, from anywhere, to be legally adopted as sons and daughters of God. That makes us heirs to the family inheritance. He starts building this new household of God, which is the church.
So the result is exactly what God promised to Abraham all those years ago. One new, multi-ethnic family, pulled together from every nation on earth. All those old dividing walls of hostility, they just get torn down, creating a single, unified household.
Now, seeing the Bible through this family of God lens is really helpful because it also clears up a super common misconception about what happens when we die.
Let's just tackle it head on, right? It's an image you see everywhere in pop culture that when good people die, they get a halo and some wings and become an angel. But is that actually what the Bible teaches?
Yeah, the answer is a really clear no. Angels and humans are two distinct categories of members within God's one household. Angels are the heavenly host. Humans are God's earthly image bearers. And redemption doesn't turn one into the other.
And this is so important to get. The goal of salvation isn't to escape our humanity, it's to have our humanity perfected and restored. We are being remade into the image of the perfect human, Jesus Christ himself, not getting transformed into a different species of being altogether. And that brings us to the Bible's stunning, absolutely beautiful final scene. And it's captured perfectly in this one line from the book of Revelation. After all the fighting, all the rebellion, all the restoration, this is where it all ends up.
And this is the ultimate payoff. The story doesn't end with humanity escaping a broken earth to float around in heaven. No way. It ends with heaven and earth being fully united into one reality. The final destiny is one single restored home where God's entire family, heavenly and earthly, dwells together with him forever. The fractured household is finally made whole.
So that leaves us with a final thought, a question to chew on. If this grand cosmic family story is really what the Bible's all about, and if the church is meant to be God's household reclamation project happening right now, well, how does that change how we think about its purpose and its mission in the world today?